Namaste.
Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online Satsang. We're really a spiritually knit community. We come from different teachers, different teachings, different belief systems. The Flowering Heart community draws people from all over the world, especially these online satsangs. People from other countries, other continents, from the other side of the planet. What we have in common, well, it's everything, really, since there's only one of us, and we all share that one being, but we're awakening. All of us are on the path of awakening in the flowering of the heart. And that's what draws us together to Flowering Heart Satsangs, Flowering Heart Center, and the various things that we do together. When we come together, we are strengthened. You have strength, I have strength, you have inner peace, I have inner peace. We put it together and it's multiplied exponentially. It's a necessary and important ingredient in spiritual growth, in the process of awakening, to join with others who are awakening. So, welcome. We share throughout these webcasts something that we call the Flowering Heart Blessing. I'm sure since it's from ancient times, it has other names. But the Divine introduced it to us in this way. And it has a Sanskrit name too, but we're normally just referring to it as the Flowering Heart Blessing these days. It's a gift directly from the Divine that initiates the process of awakening in the recipient. If you're already in the process of awakening, it dissolves blocks. It sort of lubricates the works. It makes the journey smoother. If you are already an awakened being, that's wonderful. It's not a destination, though. It's an ongoing process of expansion in consciousness. And the Flowering Heart Blessing will take an awakened being even deeper. It has wonderful side effects. It releases charges and dissolves programming. It heals relationships. It heals physical and psychic illness as well, and discomfort. So the Flowering Heart Blessing the Divine showed to us, said, give it away. It's free. It's from me, so tell people this doesn't belong to you or to any particular spiritual tradition or avatar or master or saint or organization. It is a free gift from the Divine Source itself. And it's absolutely free. It's a gift of grace. Grace is something that's given without being worked for or merited or earned in any way. It's just a gift of unconditional love. The Divine also said, and we love this part, that whenever anyone receives the Flowering Heart Blessing, if they enjoy it and want to be used as an instrument of divine grace, they are instantly initiated. It doesn't require flying halfway around the world or paying thousands of dollars and going through some course, although many of those processes of initiation, as many of you know, are transforming and life-changing. But the Divine really wants to help us and just give us these gifts and encourage us to give it to others. When you share the Flowering Heart Blessing, either through intention, in prayer, meditation, by holding someone in your heart and inviting the Divine to pour the blessing through you to them, or with their consent in your physical presence through gently laying your hands on the top of their head, and just invite the Divine to pour the Flowering Heart Blessing through you. The Divine Presence does all the rest. Anything else we do, trying to visualize or construct some kind of a prayer, the mind always wants to do something like that, actually just gets in the way. If we can just offer ourselves as an instrument to the Divine, invite the Divine to pour its grace through us to another or to others, and just get out of the way and relax, it's amazing. The beauty of the light and the life and the love, the grace that will flow through you immediately. So please join us in sharing the Flowering Heart Blessing throughout this Satsang webcast. If you come from another spiritual community that has its own form of blessing or Shaktipat or Diksha or something like Reiki, if you're holding the intent and the purpose of the blessing is to catalyze awakening in the flowering of the heart, then please feel free to share your blessing with us as well.
Feel free to try the flowering heart blessing. Give it a try.
I think you like it. It's very heart-centered. It's similar. I mean, Suzanne and I have experienced so many different kinds of blessing, and many of them are beautiful and had quite an impact on our lives. This one is very heart-centered. If you go deep enough into the spiritual heart, you come to the divine source itself dwelling within you. The entire universe and its source exist within you, in the center of your spiritual heart. The flowering heart blessing goes right to the source and begins to cause that inner divinity that goes by many names, that divine spark within, to begin to flower, begin to radiate and shine and expand as it shines out through all the layers of our being. The innermost layer, of course, is our own spirit being, our own soul. But it radiates through, and there are names for that in the different cultures, like in Hinduism, the koshas and the wisdom body and the bliss body. But the flowering heart blessing causes that light of transformation to begin to shine out from the center, transforming layer after layer after layer of our being, including the mental and emotional sheaths, and finally the physical body itself, and shining out through the physical body into our relationships, our connections with the world, and rippling out to infinity, bringing transforming grace. One of the good things about it is all these layers are semi-permeable, meaning the light can shine through all these layers and get into our physical bodies and out into our relationships without us being fully awakened or fully clear on all of these layers of our being. Because you may need physical healing right away. If that's the case, that is the outermost sheath of your human incarnation. It's the physical sheath, and we need the grace there right now. Well, the process of transformation may be working on the mental and emotional layers for quite some time, and transforming the spiritual layer as well. But this grace shines through all the layers of our being simultaneously. I think the particular here is that it's shining and unfolding from within. Which can free us from an excessive dependence on sources of light and inspiration from outside of ourselves. All of us need that at one time or another in our lives. We receive grace through a highly awakened or flowered being, and through their teachings and their presence, and that's great. But some of us get stuck in that, and we go, wow, they're enlightened, not me. They've got all of this light and love, not me. They've got all of the energy and the grace that I need to keep growing is coming from out there somewhere. The flowering heart blessing begins to awaken immediately the realization and the experience that it's coming from the source within you. And yes, it's enhanced by these external things. The teachers we have, the experiences that come to us from the outside are mirrors reflecting to us our own inner light. The outer world is a reflection of the inner world. So if you see any light out there at all, it's a mirror reflecting the light that's shining out of the center of your own being.
I think it's fun to get to the space where you've got that inner light, and all of a sudden everything becomes your teacher. Everyone you look at, everybody you interact, it all becomes your teacher, because whatever you're seeing reflected in them is what you're feeling inside of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And as we continue to awaken, we discover there is one universal being. One being. And that being is expressed through all the forms of creation in the universe, through 7.5 billion human beings. But they're not 7.5 separate beings. They're 7.5 billion embodiments of one being, one love, one heart that's the source of all. Okay. We've already got some questions.
Yay.
We open it to questions and answers for the next part of this, and then we'll, while we're still sending blessing to everyone, later on we'll focus specifically on the blessing itself and take strong intentions for miracles and divine intervention in your lives and the lives of the people that you're holding in your heart, and conclude with the open eye light meditation at the end. But Michael Christopher asks, why do some people not want to grow and awaken? I want to say flippantly, I can't imagine. I just don't understand why. But there are different answers to that. Because they don't, I mean, everybody wants to grow. It is our nature to grow, like a plant. Does a plant want to grow? I mean, not in human terms, but yes, there's an impulse in every living being to grow. And so it's part of our nature. But I think that many of us are immature in that we don't understand what kinds of growth, what areas of growth are really possible for us as human beings to grow into liberated, enlightened beings and embodiments of divine love. I mean, so many people don't realize that's actually a possibility. And they don't know what awakening is. It seems like when any of us get a taste of awakening, and I know everyone here has had tastes of awakening, maybe lots of it, maybe you've been drinking deeply of the fountains of awakening, but remember when you got the first taste, you were on the trail. You wanted to grow and to awaken more because that's really good. I want more of that. It's like, why don't more people want ice cream? They probably never tasted it. And it's sort of like that with spirituality.
Also, too, like Michael said, you know, they haven't had a taste of it. A lot of people don't know that they're asleep and that they're living their lives in a way that's not fully connected to others and each other. And so when people realize that, wait, maybe my way of thinking and living in the world wasn't quite, you know, it's not making me happy, it's not making me fulfilled, that's when people usually make some kind of a shift to want to grow and improve. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people just go on living their lives from day to day, routine, and doing similar things and not even being aware that there's a different way of being.
Okay.
That's why it's called being asleep, not awake.
Right. So Ekaterina writes, I pray Psalms every day in the early morning. That's lovely. But I'm feeling like wanting to change of Psalms or type of prayer I pray. For having peace with my son and others, Psalm for my partner and others, for success as an actress. I feel I'm done with this Psalms, but afraid of more problems with my son and boyfriend and lack of work as an actress if I stop praying. Well, prayer, I want to say, need not be motivated by fear. I'm not going to grow, I'm not going to be okay if I stop praying. Prayer is a privilege, and prayer is communion. Prayer isn't just asking for things. It isn't just singing psalms or praying psalms. Prayer is direct contact and communion with the presence. And that can do nothing but deepen your inner peace and bless your relationships. But you know, the book of Psalms, when you say there are psalms in the book of Psalms for your children, for success in life, for problems with relationships. It's quite a complete prayer book. The 150 Psalms in the Hebrew Scriptures are basically a prayer book. And there are all kinds of prayers in there for everything. Also, they are, if you could really understand what they're saying, and without knowing a little Hebrew or breaking it down into Hebrew with a lexicon or something, there's such rich teaching on how to pray different kinds of prayer, how to sing and dance in the presence and unleash the power of the presence in mighty ways. So maybe there's more for you to discover in the Psalms. But there are also so many other inspired psalms in other traditions and prayers. I think that it's good to use these ancient ones because millions of people have prayed those words. And so when millions of people say the same words in prayer over the years, over the centuries, over the millennia, those prayers take on tremendous power. Like the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven. Almost everybody, certainly who's been in the Christian tradition, knows that prayer. It's so powerful. And there are lots of reasons. I mean, the Master himself taught it, the disciples prayed it, but people for the last 2,000 years have been calling on that one. And like the 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Those are such powerful things. But after you've got enough of that in you, that kind of divine speak, spontaneous prayer can begin to well up where you just let the fire of divine love in your heart inspire the words, inspire the psalms, and it can be quite spontaneous. And there's a place beyond that where there's just silence. Just vast, deep communion with the presence. And that's in the Western traditions called contemplative prayer. In the Eastern traditions, it's a kind of meditation, samadhi. There are all different levels of it, of absorption in the presence. But ask the divine to help you to deepen your prayer life and your psalming. That's a beautiful thing.
I've been actually contemplating this lately whenever I find myself doing something out of fear, and it runs very, very deep. You know, a lot of us have upbringing, religious upbringing that tells us, you know, we need to do this or we're going to go to hell or there'll be the wrath of God or, you know, all of these constrictions. And I really liked what Michael said about prayer as a privilege. And so if we shift our thinking from, you know, I have to do this, or if I stop, maybe something bad will happen, to finding that space in our heart where we're really doing it out of love and compassion for those that we're praying for. When we do it the other way around, thinking that we need to do it so that we can help make something happen that's going to make their lives better, then that's still the mind trying to control the outcome of life. And the mind doesn't have that much power over the outcome over life. You know, ultimately it is the divine. So the more that we can surrender to the divine and see it as a privilege and from the heart, and our prayers are coming from the heart and we're offering them up instead of, I'm going to do this so that the outcome will be different. That's just a subtle way of shifting our thinking. But I've been noticing a lot lately when I start to do something or I'm trying to make a decision and judging where is my decision making coming from? Is it coming from my mind and my ego? Do I want something to happen because I'm making it happen? Or do I want to listen within and connect with the divine and make a decision from the place in the heart where there's peace and it's all calm, instead of having to mastermind it all myself? I find that things go much smoother. But like Michael said, in all of this, there is a learning curve. You know, we have to become more aware of our motivations for doing things, more aware of how we go about doing things. Is it coming from the mind in fear or control or power, or is it your ego, or is it coming from a place of unconditional love and compassion for whatever situation we're bringing it to?
There's some very powerful instructions on prayer that invite us to take whatever we're worried about, like the relationship with your son, your partner, your career as an actress, and invite us to just give it to the presence and trust. I mean, faith is trust. There's much more to faith, but it begins with trust. And we're invited to roll the whole weight of all of our cares and anxieties and burdens into the hands of the divine and let them go. That does take trust. You know, what if I stop trying to control it, like Suzanne was saying? And there's always the tendency, the mind comes back in and says, well, maybe that's not going to work. Maybe the divine didn't take it. I don't see anything changed yet. It's been 10 seconds.
If I let go of this prayer, maybe it will go out there or it won't get back.
So we tend to take back those cares, those burdens that we have offered up to the presence. But I would suggest, Ekaterina, because the same things keep coming up week after week, that you're still carrying them. Try putting all of these things in the hands of the divine and say, I can't do anything about this. I need your help. And let go. And don't take it back. That's the thing. And that's what doubting is, wavering between two positions. I've got to carry it. I've got to let it go. I've got to carry it. You've got to let it go.
And that's usually when the mind is involved, because the mind is doubting. The mind is doubting that it's actually going to get better, or that the prayers are going to be answered. So got to just keep deepening into our hearts and into faith and trust.
So Linda wrote, and actually she wrote this before you even shared this most recent contribution. Thanks, Suzanne. Love your explanation. Yeah, very heartfelt. Well, I'll give it just a minute, and then there's something that, unless another question pops up pretty quickly, there's something I'd like to share with you that leapt out to me. Okay, I'm going to do it. So there are so many wonderful spiritual teachers out there nowadays. We could just list them for hours. Really awakened beings. One in the area of meditation, a really awakened Buddhist teacher who's been helping a lot of people experience what he calls direct awakening. And that is that rather than seeking enlightenment as something in the future, something out there, something you don't have, to realize that your true self is enlightenment. Your true self is divine, and it is without boundaries and limitations. It is vast, infinite space of pure awareness and love and bliss and light. It's already there. We just have to begin to notice it. Suzanne and I share a lot of methods for noticing the space between each breath, for noticing the space between each thought or image, noticing the space that everything's floating in. The mind gets attached to all the stuff that's floating by in the air. We can't seem to and meditation is about letting go of our focus on that stuff so that we can expand into experiencing the sky that it's floating in. Okay, so Craig Hamilton is an amazing teacher in that way of teaching direct awakening as something that anyone with just a little good instruction can begin to touch into right away, and it will begin to expand in them. So in the context of one of his workshops, someone asked Craig a question on focusing attention on the body to get out of the mind. In Taoist teaching with Qigong and Tai Chi Chuan and things like that, there is the use of getting out of your head and into your senses, into your body, and that is a way of getting out of your mind. But this is a wonderful question, and it takes it farther. Question: the idea of the infinite feels like a mental construct. So to get out of the mind, is the body a good stand-in for the self the mind doesn't know and will never know? That made Craig laugh, incidentally, when he said that's a good question. The participant, this is Craig talking, the participant says, the idea of the infinite feels like a mental construct. First, the idea of the infinite is a mental construct. That's exactly right. Any idea is a mental construct. But the infinite is not a mental construct. A lot of work has been done with getting out of the fixation on thought. If you put your attention on your body, on the one hand, yes, that can take you out of your mind. And there are a lot of traditional practices that kind of work that way. We're also lost in the stream of the monkey mind. Let's just pay attention to the breath. Or let's just put our attention on our body. When we do that for a little while, what happens? The mind calms down and we feel centered in the body. From a relative point of view, putting our attention on the body certainly is a way out of the mind. Taking your attention off your mind and having it somewhere else for a while could open a doorway to a deeper consciousness. So it's not a bad thing to do, and certainly spiritual teachers ask us to do that. But what if instead of trying to focus anywhere in particular, we allowed ourselves to simply not put our attention anywhere on anything? When you can't put it on your thoughts, and you can't put it on your feelings, and you can't put it on your sensations, then where else can it go? That's the mystery. Then it's a direct invitation to become aware of consciousness itself, which is infinite and not a concept. I would say it's not a bad thing to do, but in terms of practicing meditation in the context of direct awakening, I suggest that you challenge yourself to not let it rest on the body and then see what opens up. If you just focus on your body, often you just feel nice and warm and relaxed, and you won't be challenged to go further into something more profound. I'd like to invite you to meditate on that. I'll post it at some point. Very beautiful instructions. You can meditate on sensations or experiences. Some people meditate on light. Some people meditate on the energy going through their bodies, Shakti or Kundalini energy. Some meditate on the breath. All of these things take you out of the mind, but not necessarily to transcendence. So instead of putting your consciousness somewhere, how about not putting it anywhere or on anything at all? Just experience awareness of awareness. That's the doorway to something very profound. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions, I think. Alrighty. Well then, let's all focus on our breath. No, just kidding. That can be very useful, actually, if you take, well, just let's take a few breaths. Let me point to it. Close your eyes and just let your breathing become slow and relaxed. And take a full, deep breath and hold it. And notice the space at the top of your head. There's an opening there to infinity. And that door is very accessible between the inhale and the exhale. And so take another breath and exhale, relax. And when you've exhaled, just hold it there before you take another breath. And feel. Clear, empty, boundless space. And take another breath, inhale. And hold it briefly. And focus on the space above the top of your head that blossoms into infinity. And just let it go and relax. So this isn't actually meditating on the breath, it's meditating between the breaths. In meditation, the flow of thoughts can slow down so much that you can do the same thing with thoughts and images. Notice the space between when one image appears, or one feeling appears, or one thought, and then when it dissolves before the next one comes. There's just space. Let whatever unfolds unfold. It doesn't matter what images arise, what feelings arise, what thoughts arise. Doesn't matter in meditation. Just let it all unfold like a spring unwinding. Let it release and begin to notice the space between all that stuff. Beautiful. Once you discover that, you begin to notice that boundless, timeless, open space between the breaths, between the thoughts, between this phenomenon and the next that you experience in your consciousness. You can keep going back to it so easily. That empty, boundless space is your true self. It is your original being. It is enlightenment itself. It is divine. Now just rest in your spiritual heart, the sacred space at the center of your being, and invoke the presence. The presence loves you unconditionally. It knows all about you, nothing is hidden, and it loves you still, beyond our wildest conception. The presence loves us. It is all powerful, possessing all wisdom and all knowledge. So simply invite the presence. And receive the grace that is pouring out to you from the center of your being and from all around about you. The presence is flooding you with grace and peace and love. accepted. Soak it up, drink it in. If you're carrying a weight or a pain, a burden, welcome the presence in that area of your life. Receive the presence to fill and transform. That suffering into peace, to heal you through and through, to awaken you, to cause your heart to flower with life. Strong intention in the presence for miraculous grace to flood any problem area or areas in your life or the lives of those that you carry in your heart. Just release it to the divine and drink in floods of blessing coming to you now. Now to sort of complete this flow, visualize or imagine that we're sitting in a blessing circle, all of us together. Lift up your hands with your palms open, facing forward, and invite the divine to pour the flowering heart blessing through you to all the others in the circle. And notice how much is flowing back to you through everyone else in the circle. Giving, opening yourself to be a vessel of blessing also opens you to receive more and more grace. Now let's expand our vision. Visualize the Earth, the beautiful blue planet in the middle of our circle. And let us ask the Divine to pour out the flowering heart blessing on the earth and all of humanity, to release people from ignorance and blindness and illusion, to open them to the light of their true nature and cause their hearts to flower. You could just relax your hands now and rest them on your thighs or on your knees with your palms open, turned upward. And whenever you're ready, you could open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just make sure you keep looking at one of our eyes. As we enter the light meditation, the Divine pours oceans of grace and light and love through every pore of our being to you, but especially through our eyes, which are called the doorways of the soul. That light, the light of the presence, pours through our eyes, and if you just keep looking, it flows in through your eyes into your spiritual heart, causing the flames of divine love and transformation to burn ever more brightly within you. your eyes now. Meditate a few more minutes with us as the grace we've all received settles within. You could keep meditating as long as you like. You could also lie down nearby in Shavasana, which is to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, and just dissolve in gratitude in the presence. Whatever you do, if you didn't do it sooner, before you leave and turn off your computer tonight, give us a like or a love so we know you were here. We love you so much.
Much love, light, and blessings until we connect again.
Until then, the divine in us sees the divine in you, and we bow to you. Namaste.
Namaste.